Good morning to you all. Welcome to the sixth edition of Talk the Book initiative of the AP State Council of Higher Education. Of, as you all know, that this Talk the Book, the initiative of AP State Council of Higher Education, is to inculcate reading habits among the younger generation and also to acquire knowledge in certain domains, in certain areas where there is additional knowledge that is being acquired. When once the students acquire this additional knowledge, and it will be useful for them for their holistic development, for their persona curalis, that is their personality development, and also for their livelihood also, and more in their working culture. Now, today, the Talk the book review is on Randy Pausch, the last lecture. And the book reviewer is Dr.S. Sankar, former principal of ANR College, Autonomous Gudivada, and the present director of the same college. Dr. S. Shankar is an advisor for the National Cluster of IQAC. And this National Cluster of IQAC is a cluster of all the IQAC coordinators, IQACs of all the different colleges spread across the country. Dr. Shankar is a scholar of English language and literature. He is an authority on the plays of William Ing, and he is a passionate teacher for 38 long years. And he has a lot of experience as a researcher in English language and literature. Not only for his personal research contributions, Dr. Shankar is also known for his guiding research scholars, and under his able guidance, not less than 14 MPhils and 2 PhDs have been awarded. And because of his contribution to the English language, to the students of English department, to the students of the colleges, he was awarded the Best Teacher Award from the government of Andhra Pradesh in 2005. And Sir is also the recipient of Rotary Club National Builder Award in 2016. Dr. Shankar is the person who steered the Akkineni Nageswarrao College to get autonomous status and to get assessed and accredited by NAC with A grade. And he is the resource person for assessment and accreditation of NAC, and also is a peer assessor in conducting academic and administrative audit. He is an insightful resource person on outcome-based education, on intellectual property rights, and also soft skills. Not only a trainer for the students of English literature, but Dr. Shankar is also the master trainer for Postal Department, Life Insurance Corporation, AP Police, as well as AP Revenue Departments. Now we have with us Dr. S. Shankar to review the book of Randy Pausch, the last lecture. Over to you, sir, Dr. S. Shankar.
Thank you, Sri Rangam Garu. Good morning to you all. Sri Rangam has spoken at length about what I did, and I feel that there is much more to do in the years remaining. And we have, amidst the pandemic, undergoing, you see, a situation wherein we do not know whether we'll be able to see the weeks or months ahead. But I thank to AP State Council of Higher Education for giving me an opportunity for reviewing the book, The Last Lecture by Randy Pausch. Pausch's Talk the Book has recently become a regular feature on Fridays. I once again wish to thank Matthew Srirangam, Academic Officer, Quality Assurance Cell, for arranging these talks at the behest of Pausch. A few words of introduction. Saying goodbye is not easy. Particularly during this pandemic, people have not been getting even a chance to say goodbye. And delivering a lecture like what Randy Pausch does in this book is unimaginable. All over the world, the situation today is so grim that friends and family do not even get to see the dear departed. It is in this background that I am trying to review the book, the last lecture by Randy Pausch. The central theme of the book, summarized in a phrase on the title of the book cover, reads Lessons in Living. It's very optimistic in tone. Is this what Randy Pausch wanted to convey? Let us see. I would like to share my screen, the PowerPoint presentation. Here is a book by Randy Pausch. Over 5 million copies have been sold all over the world, and lots of people read it on the internet. Randy Pausch, a professor at Pittsburgh Carnegie Mellon University, has become famous for the way he chose to say goodbye to his students and colleagues on September 18th, 2007. Here is his family. The lady, his wife, J. Glasgow, or J. Pausch. The cute little girl in her arms is Chloe, and Randy Pausch himself, very vibrant, dynamic, though he was affected with pancreatic cancer, which usually affects people beyond the age of 45. Then their two sons, Logan and Dylan. His final lecture on 18th of September 2007 lasted for 1 hour, 16 minutes and 27 seconds, but it turned into a phenomenon. As I was telling you, Pausch died of complications from pancreatic cancer on the 25th of July 2008, aged 47. While delivering the lecture, Pausch said that he was given 6 months at best, but somehow it extended and he lived 5 months beyond what the doctors said that he would live. But in his lecture and the book that was written in collaboration with Jeffrey Jaslow, he showed a love of life and an approach to death that people have found inspiring. I would like to emphasize on this. Showing a love of life and an approach to death which inspired several people who read the book or who saw the video he recorded. For many people, his lecture has become a reminder that their own futures are similarly, if not as drastically, brief. Life is brief, but people always wish to think that that day would never come, that tomorrow would never come to end their life. It is in his fate we can visualize our own. If in his fate we visualize our own, how do we speed up? This is a question that bothers many of us, but first things first. At Carnegie Mellon University or CMU, the introduction for the lecture was by Indira Nair, Carnegie Mellon's Vice Provost for Education. Indira Nair belongs to Kerala State. She did her BSc Physics and MSc Physics at Bombay, IIT, then went to America, took several jobs, and she became the Vice Provost for Education at Carnegie Mellon University, and she was chosen to introduce the audience 400 plus audience at 4:30 in the evening to the last lecture of Randy Pausch. Welcoming the gathering, she said, "It's my pleasure to introduce you to the first of our university's lectures titled Journeys, lectures in which members of our community will share with us reflections and insights on their personal and professional journeys." Please try to remember this particular underlined word in bold, journeys. Indira Nair says that the lecture is titled Journeys, whereas the book published by Randy Pausch and what Pausch wanted his lecture to be is known as the last lecture. And she adds, today's Journeys lecture, as you all know, is by Professor Randy Pausch. She then calls Randy's friend and colleague, Steve Siebold, working at Electronic Arts of CMU or Carnegie Mellon University for 6 years. Randy's friend, Steve Siebold, was then the Vice President of Global Brand Development for The Sims, which is one of the most successful PC games in the world. Like Randy, Steve shares a passion for inspiring kids. This is one of the characteristic traits of Randy Pausch, inspiring kids of all ages to share their excitement for science and technology. Randy, as introduced by Bolt, did his undergraduate degree in computer science at Brown in 1982, and he did his PhD from computer science from Carnegie Mellon in 1988, and then he taught at the University of Virginia, where he was granted tenure 1 year early. He joined the Carnegie Mellon faculty in 1997 with appointments in the computer science and HCI or human-computer interaction and design departments. Randy Pausch also co-authored or authored 5 books and over 60 reviewed journal and conference proceeding articles. And he founded the Entertainment Technology Center, ETC, not etc., but Entertainment Technology Center, which quickly became the gold standard organization for training artists and engineers to work together. Technology for helping entertainment industry. It is my view and the view of our company, said Siebold, Electronic Arts, that the ETC is the interactive program by which all others in the world are judged. Randy's dedication to making the world a better place is self-evident to anyone who has crossed paths with him. It is perceivable by any individual who has come across Randy Pausch. He wanted to make the world a better place, and that is clearly visible to anyone, says Bold. Whether it is directly influencing students, creating organizations like the ETC, or building tools like Alice, or doing what he probably does best, which is bridging culture. Alice is a computer program. As Ben Garden, ES Chief Creative Officer, says of Randy, even more important than Randy's academic, philanthropic, and entrepreneurial accomplishments has been his humanity and the enthusiasm he brings to students and co-workers on a daily basis. This is what is expected of teachers. They may be great academicians, they may be philanthropists, they may be entrepreneurs, but the human trait, human nature, and the enthusiasm that one brings to students as a lecturer on a daily basis is of great importance. For those who know Randy, he brings a particular zest for life and humor, continues Bolt. To Randy, this is simply another adventure. And I've shown you the picture. Siebold introduces Randy Pausch like this, welcoming Dylan, Logan, and Chloe's dad or Jay's husband, Randy Pausch. The video then shows Randy Pausch coming to the stage and responding to a standing ovation, says, "Make me earn it." Well, I request you all to kindly Google, go to YouTube, or go to Carnegie Mellon website, or even just type the last lecture and you will find the video. And I promise you this. If you are able to watch the video from beginning to end without shedding a tear, well, I think you can even take 1,000 rupees from the head of your family. I saw it a number of times, and each time I was overcome by emotions on looking at the video from end to end. Well, Randy, when he came to the stage, said, "It is wonderful to be here." It was 4:30 in the evening, and he refers to Indira Nair, saying, "What Indira didn't tell you is that this lecture series used to be called the last lecture. If you had one last lecture to give before you died, what would it be?" Well, this is a question, a rhetorical question for him. But, well, this is a question put to us all, particularly lecturers and to people, elders who have been serving in various capacities. If you had one last lecture to give before you died, what would it be? I'm asking this question also. Well, then Randy says, "I thought, damn, I finally nailed the venue." And they renamed it as Journeys. The transcript of the last lecture is available at this link. Well, I think Srirangam told me that this is going to be recorded by YouTube and will be available to you after the lecture is completed by me here. But you can even Google it and find the link to Randy Pausch's last lecture. And if you can, I request you to kindly watch it with family or preferably alone first, and then in the company of your better half. Well, I'll go to the other slides. The book is divided into 6 parts, each having a few chapters. They run to around 60 chapters, but the length of the chapter keeps varying. Sometimes it is only half a page, sometimes it is 6 or 7 pages, sometimes it is a full page. A lot of professors give talks titled The Last Lectures, says Randy. Maybe you have seen one. It has become a common exercise on college campuses. Professors are asked to consider their demise and to think about or ruminate on what matters most to them. And while they speak, audiences can't help but mull over the same question. What wisdom would we impart to the world if we knew it was our last chance? Well, this is what Randy says both in the book and here. In fact, after the lecture has been delivered, Randy, with the help of Jeffrey Jaslow, has composed the book, and I will tell you how that has been done in the course of a few slides. If we had to vanish tomorrow, what would we want as our legacy? If there is not going to be a day after tomorrow, how are you going to pass on your message to the world? At the time, I already had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, but I was optimistic. Maybe I would be among the lucky ones who would survive. Pancreatic cancer is a disease that affects the pancreas, which is behind the lower part of the stomach. Pancreas, the function of pancreas, as you know, is to secrete enzymes that aid in the digestion and hormones that help regulate the metabolism of sugar. As we know, this type of cancer is often detected late, spreads rapidly, and has a very poor prognosis. It doesn't have any symptoms in the earlier stages. Later stages are associated with lack of appetite and weight loss. I'll come back to what Randy said on that day in the lecture. If we had to vanish tomorrow from this world, what would we want as our legacy? At the time, I already had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, but I was optimistic. Maybe I'd be among the lucky ones who would survive, says Pausch. While I went through treatment, those running the lecture series kept sending me emails. What will you be talking about? They asked. See, even when you are about to die, the rigmarole of the academics is to be followed. They used to send him mails asking him to please provide an abstract. And this is a formality, most of you lecturers, if you are there, know, and that cannot be ignored. Even if a man is busy with other things, like Randy was trying not to die, he had to follow the procedures laid down in the academia. By mid-August, I was told that a poster for the lecture had to be printed. So I would have to decide on a topic. That very week, however, I got the news says Randy Pausch. His most recent treatment hadn't worked, and the doctors told him that he had just a few months to live. Well, what would any other individual have done in his situation? Randy Pausch knew his options. He knew he could cancel the lecture, and even if he canceled the lecture, everybody would understand why he did it. But there were suddenly so many other things to be done. He had to deal with his own grief and the sadness of those who loved him. By the time his father died, he was left with his uh, mother and a sister with and a nephew and niece, and of course his own wife Jay and the three kids. I had to throw myself into getting my family's affairs in order, and yet, despite everything, I could not shake the idea of giving the talk. I was energized by the idea of delivering a last lecture that really was going to be a last lecture in his case. What could I say? Please remember, you see, he was only 45 plus, and at the time of his death, he was 47. I couldn't shake the idea of giving the talk. I was energized by the idea of delivering the last lecture that really was a last lecture. What could I say? How would it be received? Could I even get through it? These were some of the ideas that bothered Randy. J, the pronunciation was J, like Jay. She was against his going to CMU to deliver the lecture, and Pausch elaborated his reasons for going there to deliver the lecture. In the course of the book, uh, Randy outlines how he fell in love with Jay, and they could not straight away come to an understanding or an adjustment. She explored about his background. By that time, she was already married and divorced, and Randy was not married earlier. He was 39 something, and he wanted her to come over to Pittsburgh, CMU, and stay with him. That was a problem for her. She could not come to terms with getting uprooted from her place. And it was here that Randy's parents came to his guidance. And then, after a prolonged courtship, they got married. And the marriage was highly adventurous in the sense they got married under two big, very old oak trees, and then went on a hot air balloon flight, which landed them very near to a railway track with a uh, train very nearby. And by God's grace, they escaped falling on the track and ran for their lives. That was the kind of adventure they had with their marriage. But when, excuse me, but when Randy insisted on going to CMU to deliver his lecture, his wife heard him out, then asked him, if you have things you want to say to the kids or advice you want to give them, why not just put a video camera on a tripod and tape it here in the living room? A systematic lady that she was, she asked the question, why do you want to go there? Randy felt that maybe she had me there. Like that line in the jungle, my natural habitat was still on a college campus in front of students. One thing I have learned. So an academic is always an academic. He is free on a college campus, and he just wanted to go in front of students and colleagues, and he wanted to deliver the lecture like that, just as a lion would love to be in the jungle. I told Jay, is that when parents tell children things, it doesn't hurt to get some external validation. If I can get an audience to laugh and clap at the right time, maybe that would add gravitas or seriousness to what I am telling the kids. Jay smiled at me and finally relented. Well, she is a loving wife, but Randy had his own tough times with her, trying to convince her, and he had to persuade her to get permission to go to CMU to deliver the lecture. She knew I had been yearning to find ways to leave a legacy for the kids. Okay, perhaps this lecture could be an avenue for that. Whatever my accomplishment, says Randy, all of the things I loved were rooted to the dreams and goals I had achieved. We do not give very much importance to the dreams or the talks or the uh, desires of children. We don't take them seriously. But Randy was lucky in having parents who gave him complete freedom and respected his dreams when he was a child. And he says he had managed to fulfill almost all of his dreams. My uniqueness, I realized, says Randy, they came in the specifics of all the dreams, from incredibly meaningful to decidedly quirky, that defined my 46 years of life, says he. I knew that despite the cancer, I truly believed I was a lucky man because I had lived out these dreams. See, exiting from the world without being able to do anything that you wanted to do is a very sad life. Not being able to realize your dreams. In America, I see people always refer to the American dream, and everywhere people have some goal or the other. And Randy says that he had lived whatever dreams he had to some extent or the other. And I had lived out my dreams in great measure because of the things I was taught by all sorts of extraordinary people along the way. Well, this is one thing that we have to congratulate Randy Pausch for. He knew that he was great, not because of his own personal greatness, but because of the way he was supported by certain extraordinary people who have come into contact with him throughout his life. If I was able to tell my story with the passion I felt, my lecture might help others find a path to fulfilling their own dreams. Well, in life, we see people say, the clergymen say, that we should continue the thread of life. Each individual on earth has the responsibility of contributing to the continuity of human race, and they have to live with progeny and also fulfill his responsibilities and try to live his or her dreams. Then Randy sent an email to the lecture organizers. He told them I had finally a title for them. He apologized to them for the delay. He said, let us call it Really Achieving Your Childhood Dreams. I told you. Indira Nair said that the title of the lecture was Journeys. Randy wanted it to be the last lecture. And now we have this title, Achieving Your Childhood Dreams. This is what the book is about, or what the lecture is about. And what did he lecture about? He lectured about the joy of life. How many of we experience it every day? About how much I appreciated life without complaining. On the verge of death, diagnosed that he would live only for 5 or 6 months more. He never complained. He wanted to live his life completely and fully, and he appreciated each moment that he had on this earth. And he knew that he had only a little time left. In his lecture, he talked about honesty, then integrity, gratitude, and other values he held dear. And he tried not to be boring. There was a continuous applause from the audience of 400 plus. There was only a place for people to stand. In an adjoining room, there was a big screen uh, showing the lecture, because the place where the lecture was being delivered could not accommodate them all. And on a very giant screen, Randy Pausch showed them different slides of persons, things, experiences which formed a part of his life. Randy says that the book is, in a way, a continuation of what I began on stage, delivering that last lecture. Because time is precious, I want to spend all that I can with my kids. I asked Jeffrey Jaslow for help. I will tell you who Jeffrey Jaslow is in a later slide. Each day, I ride my bike around my neighborhood, getting exercise crucial for my health. Please remember that this was in 2007 and 8. On 53 long bike rides, I spoke to Jeff on my cell phone headset. He then spent countless hours helping to turn my stories. I suppose we could call them 53 lectures into the book that follows. The last lecture video is for about 1 hour odd. But the book, around 206 pages in length, contains all those things which he experienced in life from his childhood, from the day he was able to get into school, college, his interactions with several people on the way, and how he lived all his, experienced all his dreams, and how he was diagnosed with cancer to the end. I told you that I would tell something about Jeffrey Jaslow. Jeffrey Jaslow was born on the 6th of October 1958 and lived up to 10th of February 2012. He was a long-time Wall Street Journal writer and a best-selling author with a rare gift for writing about love, loss, and other life passages. Look at him. Like Randy, he also had a rare gift for writing about love, loss, and other life passages. He passed away, Jaslow also passed away in 2012. In September 2007, after he attended the final lecture of Carnegie Mellon University, Randy Pausch and he collaborated with writing the last lecture, which was released in 2008 when Pausch was alive. The book by Pausch and Jaslow was titled The Last Lecture, and it was translated into 48 languages. It was a number one New York Times bestseller. and it spent time there for 110 weeks on the list. The media coverage included Oprah Winfrey show, it was only for 10 minutes, and an ABC special hosted by Diane Sawyer. More than 5 million copies of the book are in print in the US. Well, I have to add a little here. The Walt Disney Studios had an agreement with Randy Pausch, and they bought the rights of this book, which was printed by Hyperion for $6.5 million. Well, you see, he had Pausch also had an economic side to his personality, and earned $6.5 million, which perhaps the kids and Jay could use after his demise. Millions saw Dr. Pausch on YouTube and elsewhere. They wrote letters and email. Some said he inspired them to quit feeling sorry for themselves, or to move on from divorces, or to pay more attention to their families. A woman said the video gave her the strength to escape an abusive relationship. Others said they decided not to commit suicide because of it. Time magazine named Dr. Pausch one of the 100 most influential people in the world, and the ABC declared him one of its 3 persons of the year for the year 2007. Oprah Winfrey, as I told you earlier, promised him 10 minutes of uninterrupted speaking time, which is very unlike her. Oprah not interfering with the speakers. Oprah Winfrey promised him 10 minutes of uninterrupted speaking time, and he used it to give a condensed version of the lecture. And this is one thing that he repeated there. While delivering the lecture, Pausch proved to the audience that in spite of the diagnosis, he was in fit health. Earlier, he lost a lot of weight. Then he slowly put on a little weight, and he does push-ups on the stage in view of all the audience, 400 and plus audience. And the push-ups have been done on both hands initially and on only one hand at a time. And he challenges the audience, saying, I'm in good shape physically. And he invites anyone in the audience to come forward to do a thing like that in the lecture hall. This is a kind of bravery that we rarely see in a dying person. The same thing is also repeated by Randy Pausch in the 10 minutes he had with Oprah Winfrey on the stage in front of a select audience. Dr. Pausch, he knew that he was sure to die, but he was also humane, and he worked for the cause of pancreatic cancer sufferers. He testified before a House committee in Washington, requesting them for more money for researching pancreatic cancer. He showed them an 8 by 10 picture of his 3 children and his wife, and whom he noted would soon be his widow. Dr. Pausch is survived by his wife, the farmer Jake Glasgow, his sons, Dylan and Logan, his daughter Chloe, his mother Virginia Pausch of Columbia, and his sister Tamara Mason of Lynchburg, Virginia. Dr. Pausch gave practical advice in his lecture, avoiding spiritual and religious matters. But much to the amusement of the many people who were there in that auditorium listening to his lecture, he takes them into confidence and says, he did, however, mention that he experienced a near deathbed conversion. That was, he switched and brought a Macintosh computer, and the audience were full of laughter when he said that he bought a Macintosh. Randy Pausch's memoir, based on his inspiring last lecture as a professor, instantly became a huge hit when it touched the hearts of people everywhere. A memoir in literature deals with certain stages, certain experiences of an individual, and we can call it call the book a memoir of Randy Pausch. Students, particularly Akshay, has as Srirangam would say every time that he introduced a guest lecturer, he would say the cause behind this uh, lecture series. Akshay has a desire to enthuse students, and this is a way Akshay felt would help students look at different types of books, hear about them, and also, uh, if possible, take the book and read that and have their own experience and their own perception of the book that has been introduced through Opsh's lecture series. Students, I am sure, will appreciate Pausch's determination, the resilience, and the ability to remain humorous and light-hearted nature despite his bleak prognosis. While Pausch said that his lecture and memoir were intended solely to teach his children important life lessons, his uplifting insight has clearly affected a much larger audience. There is a universality in his message. Pausch wanted to actually share his experiences to his colleagues, to his students, and to his family, but he transcended the boundaries. And the greatness of his lecture lies in its getting translated into 48 languages. And I saw that there was a Malayalam version also, maybe because of Indira Nair, the vice provost of CMU at that time, who now retired and lives in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Maybe someone wanted to have a Malayalam version for the students studying there. I do not know. But his lecture transcended the boundaries of language and region. His lecture is not just for his students or for his children, but it is for uplifting, creating an uplifting insight for a much larger audience. For the academics, the last lecture would be an exceptional edition. It generates high interest and has relatable content that can be used to advantage when tackling literary elements. This memoir definitely guides students as they explore themes of positivity, teaching and learning, and obstacles as opportunities. Today, the students are very much worried about the stress that they experience going late to the college or the school, or not being able to get marks, not being able to get admission into a particular course or into a college would drive them to a lot of stress. This book definitely guides students to have positivity. He also, Randy recalls how when he was denied admission for his PhD in CMU, he wanted very badly to get into it, but there was a problem. His grades were not good enough for CMU to accept him, and with the help of a benevolent benefactor, he could get into it. And after getting into it, he got a place for himself, he got a name for himself, and he also saw to it that it was because of Randy Pausch that CMU could get a name for itself globally. Pausch's concept, the brick wall he imagines when an obstacle arises, or head fake, a strategy in which a person thinks he's learning about one thing, but is actually learning about another. In life, you see, we all come across obstacles. They are like brick walls. But the brick walls, Randy Pausch says, they are there for a purpose. It's not just for keeping us out, but to see how much we want to cross the brick wall, or how much we want to find a way beyond the brick wall and achieve our objective. And all the brick walls that Randy came across in his life, including the brick wall in the form of Jay and her rejection, had been surmounted by him. The only brick wall that he could not overcome was perhaps the pancreatic cancer, but that did not stop him. The few months that he managed to live, even after being diagnosed as a sufferer of pancreatic cancer, he lived energetically, purposefully, in the company of his friends and family, and trying to do something more meaningful in the few days and months that he had in life. The book can also be paired with a viewing of the video of his lecture, which is available for free online. I recall how I first read the last lecture. I had an iPhone given by my daughter, and I got the book, downloaded it, and I was a regular traveler to Hyderabad in those days. I used to read the book in my iPhone in trains or while I was traveling, perhaps sometimes at night. Then one year, we called an oncologist to our college, and I asked that oncologist friend if um, the book by Randy Pausch has been read. When I was told that it was not done, I ordered the book from Two Roads. I ordered the Two Roads edition. I got 3 copies, one for the oncologist friend, and one for myself, and one for the college library. The last lecture is about childhood dreams. And Pausch refers to his own childhood dreams several times throughout the lecture and lists some of them. And these are some of the things that he recorded. He wanted to experience zero gravity like an astronaut does, but there was a problem. He could not become an astronaut. He had an eyesight which prevented from getting selected as an astronaut. And then he also wanted to experience zero gravity in another manner. NASA had an aeroplane which is called the Comet Vomit, wherein students were permitted to experience zero gravity. And by that time, Randy was a lecturer, and NASA had one condition. Students would be permitted to go to the Vomit Comet to experience zero gravity, but faculty members accompanying the students would not be permitted to get into that flight. So Randy wanted to overcome this brick wall. He went through the details, and he found that there is a possibility of a journalist from the hometown of the students to get into the Vomit Comet, the aeroplane which simulates the zero gravity. Randy called the organizers and said he wishes to take part, and he wanted to send them some documents and ask them for their fax number. They asked him why he wanted their fax number. He said, I am going to resign as a lecturer, faculty member, and I am going to apply to be a journalist, and I want to send these 2 things to you. in order to accompany my students uh, to experience zero gravity in the Vomit Comet, and he succeeded in getting entry into the flight. So, one childhood dream fulfilled. He wanted to play in the National Football League. Well, this is something he could not get into, but he had a wonderful coach, uh, Joe Graham, the football coach, who used to continuously ask him to do this, to do that, and whatnot, everything. Joe Graham was a coach who trained the students like an old generation coach. He was merciless as far as training is concerned, and he used to take it very rough on Randy Pausch. Once, after the coaching was complete, one of the assistant coaches came to Randy and told him, "Don't be sad because the coach is singling you out. It is because he wanted to improve you that he has been continuously asking you to do this and to do that." Randy felt that it was a life's lesson for him. When people are not interested in you anymore, they would not bother you with criticism. Only when people want you to improve, they will provide you the feedback. Then he wanted to write an article to World Book Encyclopedia, which he could fulfill. He wanted to get a few stuffed animals at amusement parks, and it was also fulfilled. He wanted to be an Imagineer for Disney in Florida, and it could also be fulfilled in a manner. Randy Pausch also cherished some impossible dreams, such as being Captain Kirk in the Star Trek. And having told the audience about these dreams, Pausch also spends time elaborating on what happened in each case. Generally, he found that he had to modify his childhood dreams in adulthood, but he was able to achieve them or some approximation of it. Well, I would like to take a minute here. Do we have any childhood dreams? I am 64. Some of you who are viewing this must be in your 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever your age is. Do you have any childhood dreams? Have they been fulfilled? If they have not been fulfilled, what steps are you going to take to get them to realize them? This is a question that you have to ask yourself. And for the students for whose purpose Akshay has been organizing this lecture, my question goes, if you have any dreams, have you recorded them? Have you expressed them? Have you spoken about them to your teachers? Have you spoken about them to your parents? And what is your plan of action to achieve these dreams? And for all these things, look at Randy Pausch's last lecture and also read the book by Randy Pausch to find a way, to find clues on how you can achieve your childhood dreams and also to succeed in your life. Through his last lecture, Randy Pausch wanted to share his ideas with the three young children, his own children. These are the things I won't get the chance to tell them over the next 20 years. So he knew. One was 6 years old when he delivered the lecture. The other four, and Chloe, the girl, was 1 year old. I'm trying to put myself in a bottle that will one day wash up on the beach for them, Randy said. After the book was released, Randy was most moved and pleased to learn that educators, teachers, college lecturers, professors, middle and high school teachers, as well as college professors, they were showing the video of his lecture to their students and then using the book as a companion teaching tool. I would also request my students, my teacher friends, and people living there to watch it alone, and but preferably watch it with family or watch in the company of your students and see if it has any influence on you individually or collectively. Randy was also thrilled to receive countless emails from parents saying that the lessons in the book were resonating in their households too. A good example. Randy's example is not just good. It is a universal example of how an individual has to lead his life, given the most difficult situation, the most difficult prognosis from which nobody could escape death. But he took it in a very light-hearted manner, and he wanted to share his happiness, not the pain, not the suffering. He wanted to see people succeed in life. He wanted to be grateful for all that he realized in life. He wanted to uh, tell people who helped him so that his life would be an example for others to live and for others to overcome the obstacles, the brick walls that they may come across in their own life. Several parents and teachers were using the book to spark a dialogue with their own children. In the introduction to last lecture, Randy Pausch described his cancer as an engineering problem. Well, the humorous way that he looks at himself. He talks about the lecture as a means of expression and a way to reach his kids. If I were a painter, he said, if I were a painter, I would have painted for them. If I were a musician, I would have composed music. But I am a lecturer, so I lectured. There are so many ways to communicate. And now he asks us, and I would like to ask you all, what are your own avenues for self-expression? Well, this is what I just wanted to share with you. The last lecture has an effect of great transformation on all those who hear about it, who read it, and who also view his experience in life. Whatever an individual may come across in life, whatever suffering he may undergo, he has to overcome it with the support of the family, with the support of the friends, with the support of his well-wishers. That is a point that we have to keep in mind as we learn from the last lecture. Randy was always grateful for the parents' support, and he also recalls how he was permitted to paint his own room. His father or his mother would not object to his desire to paint his room as he chose it. They were never bothered about the loss of value to the house, and he encourages uh, the parents of other families to also do the same thing. These are some of the ideas I just wanted to share with you. I know in the given circumstances, 1 hour time to summarize the book is not an easy task, and it's not a very ordinary book. It is a book which resonates with humane experiences, love, affection, suffering, which was overcome by the friendly attitude that he had for himself, to the family, and to all others. I thank the AP State Council of Higher Education, which has given me an opportunity to speak and experience Randish joy reviver through this lecture. Thank you, Sri Rangam Garu, and thank you all the officials of APCHI.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Time is all you have. And you may find one day that you have less than what you think. So, dear students, time is all we have and it may run short. So, whatever dreams you have, you need to envision them and try to reach those particular, achieve those particular goals and try to reach your dreams. Now, this is the message what we are going to take home for today. But before we wind up, let me just share you with a 5-minute video of Randy Pausch addressing the graduates of Carnegie Mellon University before he embraced the death angel. So a 5-minute video.
Please join me in welcoming home Randy Pausch. I'm glad to be here today. Hell, I'm glad to be anywhere today. President Cohen asked me to come and give the charge to the graduates. I assure you it's nothing compared to the charge you have just given me. This is an incredible place. I've seen it through so many lenses. I saw it when I was a graduate student that didn't get admitted, and then somebody invited me back and said, okay, we'll change our mind. And I saw it as a place that hired me back to be on the faculty many years later, and then gave me the chance to do what anybody wants to do, which is follow their passion, follow their heart, and do the things they're excited about. And the great thing about this university, unlike almost the other ones I know of, is that nobody gets in your way when you try to do it. And that's just fantastic. And to the degree that a human being can love an institution, I love this place. And I love all of the people, and I'm very grateful to Jerry Cohen and everyone else for all the kindness that have been shown me. Last August, I was told that in all likelihood I had 3 to 6 months left to live. I'm on month 9 now, and I'm not going to get down and do any push-ups. But there will be a short pickup basketball game later. Somebody said to me, in light of those numbers, wow, so you're really beating the Grim Reaper. And what I said without even thinking about is that we don't beat the Reaper by living longer. We beat the Reaper by living well and living fully. For the Reaper will come for all of us. The question is, what do we do between the time we're born and the time he shows up? Because when he shows up, it's too late to do all the things that you're always going to kind of get around to. So I think the only advice I can give you on how to live your life well is, first off, remember, it's a cliche, but I love cliches. It is not the things we do in life that we regret on our deathbed. It is the things we do not. Because I assure you, I've done a lot of really stupid things, and none of them bother me. All the mistakes and all the dopey things and all the times I was embarrassed, they don't matter. What matters is that I can kind of look back and say, pretty much any time I got a chance to do something cool, I tried to grab for it. And that's where my solace comes from. The second thing that I would add to that, and I didn't coordinate on the subject of this word, but I think it's the right word that comes up, is passion. And you will need to find your passion. Many of you have already done it. Many of you will later. Many of you may take till your 30s or 40s, but don't give up on finding it, right? Because then all you're doing is waiting for the Reaper. Find your passion and follow it. And if there is anything I have learned in my life, you will not find that passion in things. And you will not find that passion in money. Because the more things and the more money you have, the more you will just look around and use that as the metric, and there will always be someone with more. So your passion must come from the things that fuel you from the inside. And honors and awards are nice things, but only to the extent that they regard the real respect from your peers and to be thought well of by other people that you think even more highly of is a tremendous honor that I've been granted. Find your passion, and in my experience, no matter what you do at work or what you do in official settings, that passion will be grounded in people, and it will be grounded in the relationships you have with people and what they think of you when your time comes. And if you can gain the respect of those around you and the passion and true love, and I've said this before, but I waited till 39 to get married because I had to wait that long to find someone where her happiness was more important than mine. And if nothing else, I hope that all of you can find that kind of passion and that kind of love in your life. Thank you.
Thank you, Srirangam, for sharing this.
So that is Randy Pausch. Follow the passion and don't give up the passion. If we follow our passion, maybe we are successful. So once again, I thank Dr.S. Sankar, the former principal of A&R College, Gudivada, and the director of A&R College, Gudivada, for taking us through this, the last lecture of Randy Pausch. So thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dear viewers, again, let us meet next Friday with a Telugu book to be reviewed. So thank you very much. Stay safe, stay at homes. Thank you all.